Alright, starting things off, we start things with Naruto is of course a child about before the the start of the series. Naruto one day is being chased and would eventually be chased into what happened to be a forest. Of course, wandering around, he'd eventually find a Patamon egg, which he would, of course, wonder how the egg got here, but after a while would eventually take the egg home with him, and would try and make an omelet out of it. However, when he would try and, crack open the egg, it would be virtually indestructible. With Naruto virtually trying everything he can to crack it open, even using a kunai, however, nothing would work. And so Naruto would eventually give up and just leave the egg alone, keeping it in his house somewhere. Probably keeping it safe, trying to keep it warm, care for it the best way you can. Of course, things would happen. Eventually, the egg would one day start to, crack, and then crack some more. Then some more, until more cracks would appear all over the egg, and it would begin to glow as the egg would, fly up in the air and would start to hatch. And then would eventually fully crack open, creating a giant bright light as the egg would hatch. This would, of course, blind Naruto, as when he finally opens his eyes, he would see a Tokomon. Not knowing what the Tokomon is, he would get a little afraid and would, of course, ask the obvious questions of, who are you and, what are you? As Tokomon would basically say his name, that being Tokomon, and would also explain that he's a digital monster, Digimon for short. Naruto, after seeing that Tokomon isn't a threat, would eventually and basically after that, Naruto would realize Tokomon isn't a threat, but Tokomon would say he's hungry, as Naruto would basically go feed it ramen. As over time, the two would actually start to become friends. Anyways, Naruto and Tokomon basically go around still pulling pranks, Tokomon being Naruto's partner in crime. And no one will really question Tokomon, just because this role seems like it wouldn't really question why Digimon is here. Well, probably the more perceptive people would question how Naruto got a Tokomon. One of these would be Hiruzen, which Naruto would basically give the same explanation Tokomon gave to him, and Hiruzen would understand and would let Naruto keep Tokomon and basically let the two keep on living together. The second person would be Iruka. I don't know why I put Naruto so small, but and Naruto would of course give the same explanation, and Iruka would accept it, and so basically, Tokomon would be attending classes with Naruto, but he still would fail as in canon. Tokomon has no knowledge to help him. Tokomon would try and help in other aspects, like helping Naruto train. However, he wouldn't really be able to do anything to help, most of the time either hurting himself or being out for the count after one solid blow. Of course, this would lead to Naruto eventually to exhume Tokomon from his training, but Tokomon wouldn't give up and would keep trying. Eventually, Naruto would have to, sit down and have a serious talk with him. Basically telling Tokomon that he can't train with him since he isn't, strong enough. This would cause Tokomon to, get a little sad because he can't help his friend, and this might even cause a evolution, which would digivolve Tokomon into the form that's what it was about, which is a Patamon. And would now become a much better help and even be able to actually, put up a good fight in Naruto and help him grow stronger, meaning that Patamon's allowed to join in, and the two would now become the duo we know today. Well, we don't know them. They're not canon, but anyways, we move straight on into, the graduation exams. And those will basically go about as in canon. Naruto still fails, and Patamon would try and cheer him up. Mizuki would still trick Naruto into stealing the scroll of sealing, and that would all go about as in canon. Patamon would basically act as Naruto's lookout and get away, and would fly him away. And they would fly into a forest, crash landing, because Naruto is so heavy. Naruto would still end up opening the scroll in the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Of course, Mizuki arrives to take the scroll of sealing, and that would basically go as in canon. Naruto is still told the truth about Kurama by Mizuki, saying that he is the Nine-Tailed Jinchuriki, as in canon, which Naruto will give about the same reaction. Mizuki would try and throw a shuriken at Naruto to kill him, however Patamon would deflect it using an air shot, which will come hurling straight back to Mizuki, who would barely dodge and get a cut on his face, with Patamon basically giving a speech of his own. Say he may not know what a Jinchuriki is, but Naruto is not a demon, and would say he is a great partner and friend. Something like that. Mizuki would switch his attention to Patamon and would end up trying to kill him, as Patamon would fire a multitude of air shots. Some Mizuki would end up dodging, some would hit him, and some in his arms, which would injure him and even blow a few holes in his Jonin vest. Mizuki would eventually recover his shuriken and would throw it at Patamon to try and kill him again, which Patamon would deflect. However, Mizuki would come in with a second one and try and stab Patamon to kill him, but Naruto would come in to save Patamon, kicking Mizuki away, and would basically thank Patamon for everything he said about them, as Naruto would use the Shadow Clone Jutsu and would defeat Mizuki about the same way as in canon. Naruto eventually arrives to see the situation, and Naruto would basically explain what happened, and Patamon would be there to verify his story, which after Ruka would still pass Naruto like in canon. Moving on to things, we get straight into, the second episode, and basically teams. The teams are formed about the same as in canon, and we still get Kakashi being Team 7's leader. Of course, Kakashi still ends up arriving late, and after he does, Naruto will pull the same prank. Kakashi gives the same analysis on them, saying he hates them all. And they still go up to the rooftop. Their goals and aspirations all remain the same, and so that leads to Kakashi still announcing the bell test. But on to the actual bell test. Naruto still tries to attack Kakashi before it begins, fails, and is still the first to attack him when it actually begins. And does the same things as in canon, except for Patamon will use the air shots at Kakashi to, when he sees openings, or just firing them until one hits. And would even one would hit Kakashi's book, which Kakashi would get annoyed and would actually be forced to take Naruto a little more seriously than in canon, but Patamon would keep doing this job pretty well, even allow Naruto to touch one of the bells. Also, Naruto would make use of shadow clones that would also allow him to touch the bells again, but Kakashi would, just keep stopping him before he can grab him. Eventually, Kakashi would pull out the same tricks as in canon, and Naruto would still end up caught by that rope by the leg and swinging on a tree. Patamon would go to help, but would be caught by a net. Kakashi would still go for Sakura and about put her under the same genjutsu as in canon. Her attempt would go as well about as in canon. Moving on to things, as in canon, Sasuke would still attack Kakashi next and would do the second best out of the three in this timeline, that being Naruto's done and Patamon has done the best so far. And his fight with Kakashi would last about as long as in canon. This leads to Team 7 still failing as in canon, and Naruto would still be tied to the podium. Sasuke would still defeat Naruto and later Sakura, and so as in canon, Kakashi would pass the team and would still give the same speech as in canon. With Kakashi and Team 7 still go on the same D-rank missions as in canon. These will all play out the same except for during the cat one, Patamon would be able to help spotting the cat from above and basically catch it using its paws, but would end up getting scratched by the cat. Moving on. As in canon, Naruto still complains about the missions to Hiruzen, and as in canon, Hiruzen, after some consideration, would give him the same C-rank mission, that be the Land of Waves mission with Tazuna. As in canon, the Demon Brothers would come and attack them after a while of leaving the village. As I said before, or if I didn't say it, Demon Brothers, as soon as they arrive outside the village, well, not as soon as, after a point of them getting outside the village, would come attack them all, attack the group. Patamon and Sasuke would go to react to this, and they would take out the Demon Brothers, well, at least one of them, will keep them back, as Patamon would use a air shot to, keep us off, at least until Kakashi would arrive and basically take out the two brothers with ease. And from here, a large portion of things will go as in canon, with them still finding out this mission is higher ranked than usual, but they would still continue on anyways. Eventually, they would still encounter Zabuza with the sword being thrown above them, so Patamon would just fly above it and would obviously get a little scared. And as in canon, Zabuza will reveal himself. After the exposition, Zabuza and Kakashi will begin to battle, and that will all go about as in canon, with Kakashi getting trapped in the water prison. I don't know what I said earlier there. This leads to it being left up to Team 7 to, free Kakashi. And by Team 7, I mean Naruto, Sasuke, and Patamon, with the same plan being made as a canon, except for Patamon will give the Demon Wind Shuriken a little boost with his air shot. I initially have it as Boom Bubble in my script. Patamon's attack. This will work in freeing Kakashi, as Patamon will go get Naruto out of the river, and Kakashi will proceed to have his battle with Zabuza round 2, this time using the Sharingan, and would still defeat him. And things happen, and Haku still comes in to save Zabuza. And Kakashi would still collapse after. From here, continue on to more canon things. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura still do their tree walking training, with Patamon just watching on, not really need to do this since no chakra, plus he can fly. Actually, Patamon does have chakra. This will not come into play later. But again, Patamon wouldn't need to do this since, he can fly. You'd just be staying and watching Naruto doing his training and basically catching him whenever he falls. So a few times Patamon would hit the ground. But otherwise than that, it will go as in canon. It'd also be there when Naruto would meet Haku, and that also remains the same. Moving on to the battle on the bridge, with Patamon being there, he would be able to wake up Naruto on time, so he's there from the beginning. It's still Sasuke and Naruto and Patamon. Still Sasuke and Naruto versus Haku, and Patamon joins in. Sakura and Kakashi, or just Kakashi versus Zabuza. And since again Sasuke was able to fight at least Haku alone and contend with the three together, they would actually be doing a pretty good job against Haku. and would force him to use the demon ice mirrors. And from there would get bombarded with a bunch of sin buns. Patamon and Sasuke would try to use a combination jutsu of like a fireball and an air shot, which would destroy a few mirrors. However, these would just come back. Sasuke would still unlock his Sharingan, and the fight would about go in many of the same ways as in canon. But with Patamon being a smaller target, he wouldn't get hit as much. Haku still decides to take out Sasuke. Still decides to end this fast and still goes for Naruto. Sasuke would jump in the way, however another person would jump in the way, that being Patamon. Luckily, before Patamon could, probably die, the Digivice would start glowing, and Patamon would digivolve to Angemon. And with that, what is basically pixie dust, I know it's not called that, probably not called that, but that's what they showed in the 2020, or was it 2021? No, I think the anime was released in 2020. The reboot of the Digimon, the original Digimon, the first one. Basically, that scene where he healed Melto. Oh dear goodness. Okay, where he healed Melto Greymon, where Garurumon, yeah, that will basically just happen here. Ironically, Naruto and Sasuke kind of share their color schemes, and would even give them a power up. They would basically just be engulfed in a yellow glow. And will be able to move much faster and harder, and they would all just basically, Angemon would use an attack called, one of his attacks, they will call it Angel Rod, to basically destroy multiple ice mirrors as fast as they're regenerating. Sasuke would use a power of fireball to destroy more, and this would eventually force Haku out, where Naruto would hit him with a barrage of attacks from his shadow clones. Eventually, this of course hit Haku out of his mirrors, and would allow Naruto and Sasuke to each land their own blows and basically finish Haku off. Finish him off, his mask would come off, and that interaction would go about the same as it can, with his mask being off, with Naruto stopping Sasuke and Angemon from killing Haku. And as in canon, Haku would sacrifice himself to protect Zabuza, and Zabuza still goes on and kills that one evil guy whose name I can't remember, Gato, and he doesn't matter. And with that, the arc will basically end the same as in canon, just that Angemon is the bridge is named the Great Angemon Bridge, because why not? Great Angel Bridge, since Angemon is basically an angel, on how an angel saved them that day. Anyways, that'll end off the Waves arc, and we will move on straight to the Chunin exams. Straight to the Chunin exams, we start with the same interaction, the whole Konohamaru thing, and Team 7 also meeting the Sand Trio, Sand Siblings. Either way, they go by that title. That interaction would be the same as in canon, just with Patamon there. Of course, Kakashi still calls up Team 7 and tells them about the Chunin exams, and the same things remain the same as in canon, with basically the team eventually deciding to enter. Of course, going to the Chunin exams hall, Sasuke tells of the Genjutsu, and basically that all remains the same in Naruto and Sasuke's battle with Rock Lee, and both of them getting dropped, which Patamon will laugh at, which Naruto would also get a little angry about. Heading straight into the written test. I know I'm going through a lot of things quickly, but bear with me here, okay? Heading to the written test. Naruto will use basically Patamon, keep him on top of his head, and use him to look at everyone's sheets. Well, probably Shikamaru's sheets, actually, if he did do the test, more than Sakura's. Basically, anyone with any answers. Meaning that, he has a lot more confidence in his paper, but would still give the same speech as in canon. Of course, although skipping along all that canon stuff, look at it, we head straight to the Forest of Death. Like in canon, Naruto still has to use the restroom, and that plays out with the Rain Ninja still attacking. Luckily, Patamon would be there to defend him and would be able to ward off the three with one gigantic boom bubble. Basically just, training that to make that technique bigger and stronger. Perhaps should bring that up, but moving on their way back to the team, Naruto and Patamon are eventually attacked by a giant snake in our swallowed hole. However, this will be no problem as Naruto will simply digivolve Patamon to Angemon, who will blast using Hand of Fate, will blast a hole straight through the snake and fly out with Naruto in his arm. As the two will fly back to the team. This will be about during Sasuke's little terrified thing, and Angemon would end up fighting Orochimaru, as he would put Naruto by Team 7 and would basically get dropped. Yeah, Angemon is powerful. I put him about around let's say joining level. Don't take that into account. This will probably be inconsistent. But Orochimaru is still beating him. Eventually turned Angemon back into a Patamon, and his body would basically fall on the ground limp. This would of course anger Naruto, who would scream Patamon's name and awaken some of Kurama's chakra, and he would attack Orochimaru, putting up a much better fight than in canon. But Orochimaru would still suppress it with the Fight Bronx Seal and knock Naruto out. Sasuke still takes on Orochimaru, and that fight would play out as in canon, as Orochimaru would still give Sasuke the curse mark. Moving on to more things like in canon, Sakura sets up camp and the sound ending attack, and that basically remains the same, that whole encounter. Moving on, we hop straight into the preliminaries, and as always, these matches are randomized, so let's get straight into, a brief summary of how the fights will go. Choji versus Dosu would go about as in canon. Here's the entry swarm with Shikamaru versus Neji. The fight between these two would be a hard one to decide. It would be easy for Shikamaru to catch Neji in a shadow possession, since he kind of needs to get close to actually doing the, hurt him. But out of the amounts of victories, I really see more ways for Shikamaru to win this. Probably using the Shadow Strangle Jutsu, basically just to, choke out Neji until he's knocked out. Or force him to quit. Or just form spikes to his neck, which will force him to quit. Sasuke still fights Yoshiro, and that plays out about as in canon. Hinata versus Tamara. I don't know what's up with my pronunciations today. Anyways, Hinata versus Tamara would play out pretty much in Tamara's favor, and just Tamara dominating Hinata with, her Wind-Sight Jutsu. Yeah, Hinata basically has no way of winning this. Next, we have Naruto and Patamon versus Tenten, and that fight would, and this fight would be a tough one with Tenten's rapid use of weapons, and Patamon would try his best to deflect some of them, but some of them would still hit Naruto and him. Especially the bigger ones with spikes. The bigger and spikier ones. So Naruto would digivolve Patamon into Angemon. Basically, forgot to put a photo of that. And so Angemon would use a angel rod to basically wrap Tenten up and basically make her unable to do anything. And so she'll be forced to forfeit, since no matter how much she would struggle, she wouldn't be able to break out. Okay, we have Garo versus Rock Lee, which plays out as in the canon. Yeah, great match, someone change it. Next, we have Sakura versus Aku, and it's pretty obvious who wins this. Sakura, of course. Actually, yes, in this one, throw her bone, since she was able to, handle herself pretty well in the Force of Death against. So yeah, I can't even kid you with this one. Aku wins. Next, we have Kiba versus Conqueror, which Conqueror would just give up, awarding Kiba the win. Alright, with more canon our way, heading up to 1 month of training, a few changes. I don't have an image of it, but Zaku would likely join Dosu in attacking Gaara, and they would both be killed. Oh well, Jiraiya still trains Naruto, and that remains the same. Although when he would throw him off a cliff, Patamon would try to save Naruto. However, Jiraiya would stop him and tell him to watch. Naruto still successfully summons Gamabunta with Patamon flying up on his head to check if he's okay, and the whole writing thing about remains the same as in canon. Patamon wouldn't really help here. So the 1 month of training continues the same, although after this whole situation, Patamon would likely blast Jiraiya with the air shot for endangering Naruto. Okay, moving on to the Chunin exams finals, and as always, they have been randomized. You have Naruto and Patamon versus Neji. Naruto off the bat would digivolve Patamon into Angel Mind. The two would proceed to battle Neji. And to be honest, Angel Mind would completely be able to actually take down Neji on his own. Naruto wouldn't really be needing this situation, ironically. And with the Hand of Fate would actually break through Neji's rotation, or his ultimate defense, and would hit him straight into the wall. You see, and would keep bombarding him with attacks until he's able to free himself. Naruto would then come at him with a bunch of shadow clones, who Neji would avoid the attacks of most of them, but would eventually get hit by a few of them. This will be enough for Naruto to land a Uzumaki Barrage, or Lion's Barrage, or what was that attack Rock Lee used that day? Naruto and both Sasuke copied, and but just know after this, Neji is down and out. And their whole thing remains the same as it can with the Talk No Jutsu. Shikamaru and Tamara face off, and that battle remains the same as in canon. Next we have Gaara versus Sasuke, and that about plays out as in canon, with the invasion starting. Naruto is still falling asleep under the Genjutsu, which Patamon wouldn't be affected, but would try and wake up Naruto. However, he wouldn't succeed, but luckily Sakura would still break Naruto out of it. So the same teams assembled between Sakura, Shikamaru, and Naruto and Patamon. In their journey to Sasuke about remains the same as in canon, with Naruto still coming in with the save, kicking Gaara in the face as in canon. As Patamon would also blast him with the Hand of Fate, a bigger one, not the small ones in the reboot. And the two would battle Gaara. Naruto still basically does the same thing he does as in canon by making use of a bunch of shadow clones to bombard Gaara, with Patamon also keeping him restrained using Angel Rod to allow more of Naruto's attacks to hit. Of course, it still forces Gaara to bring out and go into full Shikaku, as Naruto would still, after a few tries, after summoning Gamakichi to summon Gamabunta to fight Shikaku. As Naruto and Angemon would hop on his back. Naruto still does all the same stuff as in canon, gets on Gaara's head, but when he's trapped by the sand, Angemon will use Angel Rod to, slice through it, and basically allow Naruto to still headbutt Gaara as in canon. Gaara and Naruto still have one more bout, still getting their final blows, as Naruto would awaken Kurama's chakra, Zero Tails, and would defeat Gaara. As Patamon would pick up Naruto after he is basically left unable to move, being too tired. And from here, the arc ends off the same. Hiruzen still dies against Orochimaru, and Orochimaru's hands are still gone. And so, we'll move on to the Search for Tsunade arc. Oh, this movie's fun so far. Maybe I should do it more often. I'll just switch to movies for now on, probably. Moving on to things, Kisame and Itachi still come to the village as in canon. Their interactions with Kakashi, Kurenai, and Asuma, and also Guy would about go the same as the canon, with eventually them leaving the village. As in canon, Jiraiya would take Naruto out with him to search for Tsunade, with also the promise of a new technique, and Patamon will be there to join too. Now, like in canon, Naruto and Patamon left at a hotel, and Naruto still practices his chakra control, I believe it was. I forgot what he practiced. As in canon, there is a knock on as Itachi and Kisame would appear. Naruto would obviously see these two as a threat and would digivolve Patamon into Angemon immediately and would get ready for a fight. Before it could begin, Sasuke would arrive down from the hallway and still scream Itachi's name, and we know how the scene plays out, with Itachi still choke slamming Sasuke to the wall and still putting him under that genjutsu. I know for a fact he's used genjutsu because I don't think there's a fight I can name where Itachi hasn't used genjutsu. But my terrible memory of Naruto aside, Naruto would still try to help. However, Kisame would stand in his way as Angemon would try and attack it with Angel Wand. However, Kisame would use Samehada to block it, and then basically hit away the rod, and then two hit Angemon back straight into a Patamon. Which Naruto would go over and worry and hold Patamon. Kisame would about get ready to cut off Naruto's legs, but luckily Jiraiya would arrive and would still save Naruto and Sasuke as in canon, and would make the two flee. Though if you ask me, I don't think even a Sage Mode Jiraiya could have taken on these two together. Then again, Itachi did say he was low on chakra. Of course, this would still lead into Naruto training and learning the Rasengan over a few days, weeks. How long was this trip? And he would still master or learn the first two steps. But before he could, fully master or learn the third, they would still encounter Tsunade at the restaurant. Tsunade would still make fun of the Hokage, or dishonor the whatever you want to use, and this of course leads to Naruto getting angry and the fight outside would still happen. Naruto would use Angemon during this fight, however you would just leave Angemon to deal with Tsunade alone while he charges a Rasengan, and Angemon just gets tossed around here. Yeah, he stands no chance against Tsunade. Nothing he does work against her. If he uses an Angel Rod, Tsunade would just grab the wood part of it and punch Angemon straight to the ground in his face. Would that helmet break? And any hands of faith, unless I'm getting the attack wrong, would easily be tanked by her. Say probably a few scratches on her clothes, but besides that, nothing else. Eventually, after getting beat down for a while, Angemon would revert into a Patamon, and Naruto would luckily be done and would use her Rasengan out of the Shadow Clone. That's really the only image I could find I didn't have to erase her for. He would still charge at Tsunade with the incomplete Rasengan, and that would go about as well as in canon. Tsunade and Naruto still make the bet. Naruto will go to check up on Patamon after the battle, asking if he's okay, which he would be. From here, Naruto's training with the Rasengan would basically go the same. Patamon does a little training of his own, probably in Angemon, he tries to use the Rasengan, because why not? Since seeing Naruto do the steps, you probably do. You'd probably be able to use it if you tried. But moving on to about the third act of this arc, Tsunade still goes on with the deal with Orochimaru and Kabuto, but fakes it and would end up fighting Kabuto, as in canon, and would still lose because of her whole thing against blood. Naruto would still come in to save her, and he would have his same battle with Kabuto. For the first time, would use a Rasengan. Angemon would also give him a little boost. I forgot he could do that for a second. That's why he didn't use it against Gar. And he would hit Kabuto straight in the chest. Just for now on, assume that Angemon just gives Naruto a boost. As in canon, the Sonic battle still happens and the arc ends off the same. So that went off the Tsunade Retrieval arc. And next we have our final arc, the Search for Tsunade mission. The next arc is the Sasuke Retrieval arc. So let's head straight into it. Arc of the movie, well, this little experiment, as in canon, Naruto would still have his fight on the rooftop with Sasuke after he would challenge him. As Sasuke would, Naruto would digivolve digivolve Patamon to Angemon. You can probably assume that from now on, every time I show you an Angemon image. Anyways, the three end up duking it out, and Sasuke is, well, how do I put this? Absolutely destroyed. Gets dropped really hard. Sasuke would try and attempt to use a Chidori, which Naruto for one to show it off would use a Rasengan, and this would lead to the same things happening as in canon. Kakashi is still coming in and stopping them both and basically telling them to, hey, cut it out. This leads to the water tower situation as in canon, and more things continue on. A long stream of canon and the Sound Force still show up in the village and basically have their beef scuffle with Sasuke, and Sasuke still ends up joining them leaving the village. So in canon, Sakura will still get the whole thing, and the Sasuke retrieval team is about the same as in canon with Choji, Kiba, Naruto, Shikamaru, Neji, and later the Sand Trio and Rock Lee. Oh, was that a spoiler? I think that was a spoiler. During Jirobo's thing, Naruto will use Angemon to basically use a hand of fate to break through the thing, and even land a punch on Jirobo, sending him through a few trees. Of course, this will lead things going on in canon, as Naruto would eventually arrive to face Kimamaru. Or was it Kidomaru? I think this one was Kimamaru. Anyways, with that, Naruto's extra boost in power, actually him and his shadow clones would be able to do something to Kimamaru in his base form, making him go into stage 2, and this will cause Naruto and Angemon to start the struggle, but they would be able to keep up with him. Sasuke was still awakened, and Naruto would still go after him. Luckily, Rock Lee would still take over the fight in later Garo, with Kimamaru turning into his Curse Mark Stage 2 as in canon, and that fight would about end the same as in canon. So basically, Sasuke, this will end the Valley of the End fight, and the fight still begins the same as in canon, with Naruto basically getting dogged on by Sasuke, and the real challenge for Sasuke basically only being Angemon. Naruto, like in canon, would start to awaken more Kurama's chakra, and Sasuke would immediately be put on the backhand once again. Sasuke still awakens his 3 Tomoe Sharingan and once again regain the advantage during the fight, would eventually be forced into Curse Mark Stage 2. Sasuke would use a Onyx Chidori and would go to, at least take out one of them, that being Naruto, since he's the weaker link at this point. Where Angemon would step in front of Naruto and would take a direct hit to the chest, and would, of course, back to Angemon as his limp body would fall in the, waterfall, ocean, the sea under them, and flow down a river into a safe place. Conveniently. This caused Naruto to get even more angry and awaken even more of Kurama's chakra than canon, actually making him go into the Four Tails version 2 cloak. As he would begin basically thrashing Sasuke around, leaving him with giant claw marks, scrape marks, burn marks, and all of the above. Basically, Sasuke would be utterly and torrently destroyed, still trying one more Onyx Chidori. However, Naruto would easily grab it with his tail, which would burn Sasuke's arm and basically stab him in the chest, which would also make the Chidori fade. So it's not Onyx Chidori, apparently it's Black Chidori. Keep using the wrong name. They look so similar. If you go look at them, they literally look the same. Sasuke is eventually revert to normal and basically collapses because of all his injuries. Naruto would get ready to finish Sasuke off, but luckily will return to normal. Kakashi would, Naruto would return to normal and would eventually, go collapse himself with burn marks of his own and some of his skin peeled off. Kakashi would still arrive with his. Kakashi would still arrive and his dogs, and they would help carry everyone out. Kakashi would carry Naruto or Sasuke, while his dogs would carry Patamon or Naruto, Patamon, and Sasuke. Which, speaking of his dogs, one of them would have recovered Patamon too, and would be holding it in its ear by one of its fangs. Naruto and Sasuke would both wake up in the hospital, and basically would be in near critical condition since of all their injuries. Patamon would go to check up on Naruto, being worried for him. Also, he would have waken up sooner since his injuries weren't nearly as severe. Actually, he healed pretty quickly. Eventually, Sasuke and Kakashi would have another talk, and Kakashi would get Sasuke to see the error of his ways and basically turn him back to the light for now, in case I decide to, turn him back to the dark. But anyways, with that, we head straight into the time skip, and you can probably guess who Sasuke trains with. It's obviously Tsunade. Okay, it's Kakashi. What if Sasuke became a medical name? Might actually be a good one, though. Sakura still trains under Tsunade, and that basically goes as in canon. Naruto and Patamon would train under Jiraiya, and their training would about go the same, with Patamon learning the Rasengan and being able to use it about the same with Naruto, just with one hand. Although not having access to the big ball Rasengan, well, not the Odama, the giant one, the smaller, bigger one. Also, moving back to Sasuke, I should probably go more into detail about his training, since there's a few differences. Sasuke still is able to make use of the curse mark, so he would keep that. Sasuke also would still make the Kirin. Kakashi would probably also learn Kirin. Sasuke would also get better at his Sharingan, and will likely get the dog summon instead of snake summoning, and still gets the hawk summoning, although we never learned where he got that from, and would likely become a tuning himself after the time skip. Anyways, with that will end off the first half of the series. Join me in the next. Starting things off, Naruto's return to the village would remain the same, and Patamon would be there with him. Probably not as excited though. And Naruto would meet up with Sasuke and Sakura, along with Patamon. Well, Patamon's with them. Of course, a far length of canon goes on until we get into about the second bell test, just that all of Team 7 would be there. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. And Patamon. And would still battle Kakashi. I'm not really going to go over this one. Just, basically every one of them showing off, everyone getting their turn to show off what they've learned. Naruto showing off, Naruto and Angemon showing up how strong they've got it. Sasuke doing the same, although it would be a bit harder since Kakashi would know what he has since kind of trained with them. And Sakura would still, Sakura also show off. But the team actually does end up getting the bells. So the team would pass, starting off this story with the victory. But unfortunately, the same can't be said for Gaara, as he does still battle Deidara and is captured. Of course, coming to Tsunade's office, Team 7 is still assigned this, and they do head out for the mission. And Team 10, Team 10's, Team 3, I believe, Team Guy, or Team 3, I believe it was Team 3, but could be wrong as always, would also be sent out on the mission as backup later. So Itachi would basically face Team 7 plus Angemon, well, the Itachi clone, and that goes about as well as you think for the clone, and is defeated much easier than in canon, with Sasuke being a little angry that he didn't get to kill the real Itachi. But going on to things, more stuff happens as in canon, and they still have to take care of Team 7 still left to fight Deidara and Sasori. Going over the fight with Sasori, Sasuke would join Tio and Sakura, and that battle would be, well, with Sasuke there, they would have a much easier time than in canon. As in canon, Sakura still does break Sasori's shell. Oh, sorry, as in canon, Sakura still does break Sasori's shell, revealing the Sasori puppet. Weird. And so Sasuke would use Curse Mark Stage 2 and would basically destroy all those giant black sand projectiles using black Chidoris. Those ones he kept launching at Sakura. And would still allow Sakura to destroy the third Kage puppet. Sasori still takes his robes off, uses flamethrower and water, which is easily dodged. The 100th puppet jutsu happens, and of course, just Sasuke there to, help destroy them, and Sakura still does end up not finishing him off, but destroying that body. But when getting stabbed in the back, Sasuke would be able to know, with his Sharingan, and would be able to stop the puppet before it can stab Sakura. And nearly kill her. I believe she was dying in canon. Of course, moving on to Kakashi, Naruto, and Angel Mom versus Deidara. This battle wouldn't change much from canon, with Naruto still, raging out with the whole Gaara situation. However, Angel Mom would be able to keep Naruto calm, and so the battle would go, a lot more easier than in canon. Not a lot easier, a lot more smoother, with Naruto actually being kept in check. They would still manage to give him the slip and fake his death, but besides that, everything remains the same. Kakashi using Kamui twice and having to go to the hospital. Gaara, as in canon, still is revived by Chio, and that's how the arc will end off. So we move on to we don't go to Tinchy Bridge, so we move on straight into the Akatsuki Suppression arc. Since no Tinchy Bridge Arc since Sasuke is here, which means Orochimaru stays alive and basically would be lurking in the shadows waiting for a plan. The Tinchy Bridge Arc. As in canon, Naruto still starts off the arc with learning Winjutsu and practicing the Rasen Shuriken. Patamon's just there watching, basically would do nothing for this portion of the story. But like in canon, Hidan and Kakuzu eventually arrive in the Land of Fire, and Team 10 plus two other people whose names I can't remember, so I call Guy 1 and Guy 2 is still sent to fight him. Of course, that goes about as well as in canon, with Asuma dying and the two getting away. Hidan and Kakuzu getting away. So again, going over a huge, I should probably stop skipping over a bunch of canon stuff, but it's canon, so. We head straight into the second invasion the second round where Sasuke would join Team 10 and Kakashi, and he would help against the fight in Kakuzu since Shikamaru would still fight Hidan. Of course, he would be a great help to the fight, actually. And with the two similar movesets, they would be able to remove more of Kakuzu's hearts. Since the two would have, more of a great synergy together. So, but Kakuzu would still be, a little bit much, so Sasuke would end up having to use, a jutsu he would have saved for Itachi. So Sasuke would use Kirin and basically obliterate Kakuzu. Or kill him, it will vaporize his hearts. His remaining hearts. Basically, Kakuzu's down after taking the Kirin, which will take some time for Sasuke to charge up, but he would still hit Kakuzu. So that ends the Hidan and Kakuzu arc. So let's hop straight into the Pain Invasion arc. Sorry, not the Pain Invasion arc. The Search for Itachi arc. Well, I guess it would be Search this time. The fated battle between brothers. Into the Search for Itachi arc, well, it wouldn't be much of a search. Sasuke would have find Itachi about the same way he did as in canon, or would this timeline get a message? Either way, he gets a way to get to Itachi's location, which Sasuke would share with Naruto, Kakashi, and in Sakura. I just put Patamon there. Unfortunately, I ran out of room for Sakura. But after some consideration, they would go and, go to kill Itachi. Let's help Sasuke kill Itachi, though Sasuke wouldn't want the help. Team 7 eventually arrives at the old Uchiha compound. I forgot where it was. I think it was at the Uchiha compound. Anyways, but would encounter Kisame, who would basically only let Sasuke through. And Sasuke would rush ahead. So it's basically left to Team 7 to battle Kisame, will at least keep him occupied until, Sasuke's done. And they would do just that, using Kakashi's Kamui and Naruto's use of Shao clones and Sakura's strength. I believe they would be able to do that. Basically using their ability. And Sasuke still fights Itachi, and this fight goes about the same as in canon, except for Sasuke keeps the curse mark. Mostly because but with that, Kakashi and Team 7 would basically go recover Sasuke, and that's how the arc ends. Recover Sasuke and Itachi before Obito could get to him, and that's how the arc ends. Straight into the Pain Invasion arc, or just the Pain arc. Anyways, as always, in the beginning, Jiraiya still unfortunately meets his untimely end. After some grieving, which Sasuke and Patamon would comfort him on, Naruto would go to learn Sage Mode, and that basically remains the same. Just with Patamon there and watching and waiting. But as always, before Naruto could finish his training, the 6 paths of pain would arrive in the village along with Konan and basically wreak havoc. This leads to Kakashi still making his way in fighting pain, except for Sasuke would join him in this timeline. And the two would, well, as I said before, fight pain, and that basically goes pretty well for the two, since, two are pretty similar in fighting style. And Kakashi would still make up the same plan of stopping Pain's abilities after analyzing him. Sasuke would even go into his curse mark stage 2, which he still has. Don't ask how. And the two would come much closer to killing, the Diva Path than the canon, but of course Pain through basically using his other paths as human shield still is able to get the upper hand on the two, and basically would still trap Kakashi in the ground. Leaving Sasuke to kind of fight Pain alone. However, this would really help. He wouldn't be on Pain's level yet. Of course, Kakashi would still be revealed to be alive and would try to use Kamui to help. Not trying to help, but save himself. Sasuke would still think he is dead and would most likely unlock his Mangekyo, gain the boost to be able to at least fight somewhat on Pain's level. Kakashi would try using Kamui to help, however, would take in Amaterasu from Itachi's, since it's Obito's eye. So, that goes off. So eventually Pain is able to, defeat Sasuke and nearly kill him, but coming in for the save, Naruto and Angel Mom would appear. And the two would basically get to their fighting Pain. Yeah, Naruto would basically take on the path the same way he did it in canon, but with Angel Mom's assistance, they would dismantle the paths actually pretty easily. That is until Naruto runs out of Sage Mode. Still gets it back, and then again the fight resumes, eventually leaving it down to the Diva Path, which would still pin down Naruto, which Angel Mom would try and, free Naruto, but would end up also being pinned down himself. First, Naruto had seen his best friend being, kind of harmed, would go 6 tails, and would about have his same battle with Pain as in canon. Luckily, Hinata will come in. I forgot to include an image of her. and would luckily free Angemon, allowing him to, try and go save Naruto for the planetary devastation. However, it would kinda be no use as he wouldn't have enough strength to break it. So out of desperation would Digivolve. Start more about desperation, wanting to save his best friend, would Digivolve into Holy Angemon and would cut straight through the planetary devastation, which would free Naruto after he's, done talking to his dad. And so together the two would finish off Pain, with it still coming to the final shot, and the Diva Path is defeated. And so Naruto and Patamon will go to check out Nagato, and that basically remains the same, just with Patamon there. And so that ends off the Pain arc. On to the 5 Kage Summit. About to be a very short 5 Kage Summit, as in canon, due to Tsunade being put in a coma. Unfortunately, the asshole over here would become Hokage. Always makes me mad to see that his dream gets realized. And by this time, Sasuke would also gain EMS by, using Itachi's body in his Mangekyo Sharingan. So the 5 Kage Summit with none of the cast joining, since Sasuke is, in the village and is innocent, so no really need to go and beg the Red Kage in the whole thing. But so the 5 Kage Summit would actually go off without a hitch for a while. That would be about until Obito would arrive and would teleport Danzo into the Kamui dimension. You can guess where I'm going with this. He kills Asshole. No need to go over the fight, as Asshole is nowhere worth my time. Anyways, as Obito would arrive out, probably with Danzo's head, just drop it on the ground. Actually, no, unfortunately, he would have self-destruct, so can't have that in. But basically, he would still declare the 4th Great Ninja War, and that goes the same. Of course, preparations before the war, Obito would still, Obito would meet with Orochimaru in this timeline to get the Edo Tensei army, and that would basically go the same as if it was with Kabuto. Just Obi actually watching his back around Orochimaru, since he's a lot less trustworthy. Maybe Orochimaru can. I know he isn't. Our semi-final arc, and that being the Turtle Island arc. Naruto still goes with Killer Bee, with my guy, that random joining and that other powerful random joining. Also Sasuke too, and he still does, to, gain the power of Kurama without losing control. Maybe as a cool fight, when he fights his evil self, we can have a Devimon versus Angemon. That'd just be cool. But in the end, Naruto would succeed, and Naruto and Patamon would succeed, and so we move on. And Naruto would still have to go fight, Kurama. However, he would have to do this one alone with Patamon objecting, but kind of has no way into Naruto's head, so it's kind of forced to just let him fight Kurama alone, unfortunately. So Naruto still has his battle with Kurama, and that would basically remain the same. Naruto still gains Casey in 1, and we continue on with the rest of the arc. Kisame still happens. 7th Gave Guy happens. And Kisame still commits suicide. Moving on. So Naruto would escape with the help of Killer Bee and Sasuke and Angemon in this timeline. Basically all of them escaping from, Turtle Island. Of course, on their way away, they encounter Tsunade and the Red Kage, and that will basically play out the same with just Sasuke and Angemon there to provide, backup and fighting. Well, their brief skirmish. The Red Kage is still blitzed by Naruto, and so that would be enough for him to let them go. So with that will end off the Turtle Island arc and the small part of the war arc I just include. Now, on to the war arc itself and the finale of this movie. The war arc, Naruto, Sasuke, Angemon, and Beast would encounter Itachi and Nagato, and that fight will play out about the same as in canon, but would go much easier since they got 2 more powerful forces. During the fight, Itachi would have a talk with Sasuke about the whole clan thing, and he is freed, would tell him about the Uchiha massacre after they're done with Nagato. I'm really forgetting stuff. And so the group still goes off with Sasuke going to assist Itachi and taking on Orochimaru and Kabuto. So we would get a sage mode Orochimaru and Kabuto, because why not? And with the brothers taking on each one of them, Sasuke primarily fighting Kabuto and Itachi fighting Orochimaru, they would have a very difficult time, a much more difficult time in canon, since Sage Mode Kabuto alone was pretty powerful. But through some trickery, Itachi is able to place Orochimaru under a Genjutsu and come to help Sasuke against Kabuto, who would be struggling very much at this point. And so the two would have their battle with Kabuto and win, and basically Itachi would make Orochimaru, reverse the Edo Tensei army. Well, unless your name is Madara Uchiha, because apparently you can Edo Tensei yourself. But the two brothers come out on top, say their final goodbyes to each other, and so that ends off basically the same. Obito and the Edo Jinchuriki would still happen and would end up using the move Gates of Destiny to basically seal two of the Jinchuriki away. So let's just do a randomizer for who they are. This being Fu and Han, who are sealed away before the gates close. And this would about drain Angemon, who will revert back to Holy Angemon, that will revert back to a regular Angemon, which Obito would try to get rid of, but luckily Naruto would catch the chakra rod they would try and kill Angemon with. Speaking of Naruto, many things go as in canon up until he gains KCM2 and the battle ends. Well, that portion of the battle ends the same. But Obito is still revealed to be Obito, and Madara arrives with the... Well, he didn't come with the Ten Tails. Madara just arrives, and the Shinobi Alliance and that all stuff remains the same with them trying to, take down the Ten Tails. Everyone, when the Ten Tails will try to use his giant Bijuban to basically kill all the Alliance instead of Minato interfering, Holy Angemon would use shield counter to basically, after a struggle of holding the Bijuban back, deflect it straight back at the Ten Tails, which would damage it. First, after this, 4 Edo Hokage arrived, and from here, much of the war arc would continue the same. Ten Tails Obito still happen, with Naruto and Sasuke still using that QB Susanoo thing that we'll never see again. Just that Holy Angemon would be able to damage Obito. It would also be one of the tails of the thing, the QB Susanoo. Probably replacing someone. I don't care who it is. Of course, Obito is still freed of the Ten Tails, and Naruto and Sasuke proceed to battle Madara, and that will go about as well as in canon, with both of them dying. Madara still becomes the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, and this would anger Magna Angemon, actually, and also sadden him at his best friend's death. And yeah, he'll basically try fighting Madara in anger, but this wouldn't work. And so would use Heaven Gates again, however, instead of Madara being sucked in, he would instead be hit by a giant yellow blast that would go for miles. That would shoot for miles. Like that scene of Cell using the solar Kamehameha, I believe it's called. Madara being Madara and having the Ten Tails would survive, although with much of him destroyed, much more than what Guy would have done in canon. And so he would still regenerate from this. As Holy Angemon will revert back to a Patamon in tears as it's knocked out. Guy still takes on Madara, and that basically goes as in canon, with him acting as the final distraction. Naruto arrives and heals my Guy, and also goes and wakes up Patamon, who would jump in his arms in tears after seeing his best friend, even brother at this point. As Naruto would hand Angemon some of his 6th path chakra, which will allow Angemon to reach its final state and digivolve it into Seraphmon. So Naruto, 6 paths Naruto, 6 paths Sasuke, and Seraphmon would all end up taking on Madara. Sorry, did I say taking on? I meant dominating. And since Seraphmon's there, when Madara tries, steal Kakashi's Sharingan, Seraphmon would end up using Excalibur to basically slice off that arm, and yeah, from there Naruto and Sasuke would end up using, the sixth path shilling Edo Tensei Chibako Tensei. Still, they would end up sealing and defeating Madara no Kage. Obito is left alive in this timeline, is allowed to freely return from the Kamui dimension. Sasuke stays in the village. There's no final battle at the end, since Sasuke never went down his road to darkness. Well, at least didn't go down of it for long enough. Naruto becomes Hokage as Patamon is there with him for the rest of his life. Probably would watch over Boruto too. Actually, you would watch over Boruto. And who knows, I bet probably make a sequel of Boruto getting a Gatomon. Let me know if you like that. I wouldn't mind doing it, although it'd be a little weird with, that ends off the series. Enjoy this 2-part movie.